Hello and welcome in everybody to Full Send Half Mast Podcast episode number 102, and Merry Christmas to everybody. Hopefully you guys have a great holiday, and thanks for spending your evening with me Christmas Eve while we talk about some more motorsports action. Tonight it's going to be a little different. I don't know if Tom will make it here tonight or not. Busy, I'm sure, with everything going on with Christmas. But if he does make it, we'll jump into some segments with him as well. If not, we'll just roll on and continue on with some news. Some silly season stuff continues to ramp up here in the motorsports world. I can't wait to give you guys some of that breaking news and maybe some expectations I have for those. Also, I have some nominees here for the race of the year. I will have this post up for you guys at the end of this podcast for you guys to vote on. And I'm curious to see what you guys think is the nominee for this year's race of the year in 2024. I've got some great options here available. Also, I would like to go over a little bit of entry list for the Rolex 24, which we are currently 1 month away from the Rolex 24, 32 days, I believe, away. Super excited for that action to get this motorsport season kicked off. Some different stuff has changed in the IMSA world with some different driver lineups and teams changing, manufacturers jumping in. I would like to kind of break down some of the ones to watch going into the Rolex 24, and then obviously next week we're gonna have a full IMSA season preview podcast here on this channel. And I also want to give you a precursor to my bold predictions for the motorsports season in 2024 or 2025, excuse me. And if Tom makes it here tonight, he'll give his bold predictions for 2025 as well. And if doesn't make it tonight, we'll go rehash this back again with you guys next week when Tom gets here. So super excited for this podcast here tonight. First off, I do want to start off with some news. So first off, the 2311 Front Row Motorsports lawsuit, trial, everything going on against NASCAR in this charter agreement that they refused to sign. Judge has granted a preliminary injunction for 2311 and Front Row Motorsports to be able to compete next year as chartered race teams. This is some big news. Also, the other big major news coming out of this lawsuit or this lawfare type deal that's going on between NASCAR and 2311 Front Row Motorsports is that the judge also ruled that the no sue clause is basically fringe illegal. So the fact that now NASCAR teams are going to be able to sue NASCAR if they disagree with certain things or they want some certain things to go their way to benefit their teams going forward, that is now on the table as well. NASCAR does have an opportunity to appeal this ruling, and that is going to be decided on a TBD later date. So if you guys want to stay up to date with that, make sure you guys subscribe to this channel because we'll keep you up to date with everything happening with that lawsuit. Does this mean that maybe other teams are going to jump on this bandwagon now that the judge has ruled? I guess if the appeal doesn't go through and they don't appeal it, NASCAR doesn't appeal the sue clause. Do other teams jump in on this whole deal and they go and try to sue NASCAR now too? I mean, this is some crazy news coming out of NASCAR. Could this be the end? I mean, I precursored this maybe a year ago on this channel talking about maybe the split in NASCAR. It looks like now it looks like the teams are going to have all the power going forward here in NASCAR. So this is some extremely groundbreaking things. Also, Front Row Motorsports and 2311 were in the talks or in the works to buying the charters from Stewart Haas Racing. Currently, Front Row Motorsport, it looks like they're going to be granted that opportunity, but now 2311 is going to have to file another preliminary injunction to be able to get the purchase of one of those SHR charters as well. So there's going to be a lot more snowball effect. It's a big old snowball roll down the hill, and it just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling and getting bigger and bigger. And we don't know where this is going to go. But for 2311 Front Row Motorsports to be able to compete next year in 2025 as charter teams, the judge ruled it for just the 2025 season. So going forward, it's not in place. But the fact that the judge ruled that the no sue clause that NASCAR put in the charter agreement, I think that is a huge game changer, not only for 2311 and Front Row, but also for the other NASCAR teams. If they don't feel like they got a fair shake, maybe they signed it in I guess more of a do as we say type thing, or they didn't really feel like they had an option. Maybe now this opens the door for them to have an option to pursue their own lawsuits. It'll be interesting to see what NASCAR does. NASCAR is a billion-dollar company with big time lawyers. Are they going to be able to fight this? Are they going to be able to appeal this and win an appeal? That's here to be said. I mean, it's just crazy to me that this is how this all snowballed and how this ended up. I did not think that 2311 for Motorsports were going to come on the right side of this deal. And as far as it's looking right now, the fact that they're going to race as charter teams to be able to claim some of that revenue that they are going to get from this preliminary injunction being charter teams in 2025, and then the opportunity to increase their value by adding more charters to their teams, even though they're not part of this charter agreement. I mean, this is just massive, massive stuff. And this is stuff we're gonna be looking back in 10, 15 years when the NASCAR looks like a completely different sport. If it even is what it is today. I mean, we're gonna look back at this moment as being a landmark change for the future. So big stuff out of NASCAR. We'll keep you up to date as we continue to get more news. We might have to make one of these videos during the midweek, like we've done before, talking about this. We've made some prior with some other things, like with the Austin Dillon ruling. We made a video about that. Some other silly season stuff. We made some weekly videos with that. Might have to keep you guys up to date with this as well, because this is just an evolving door of litigation, lawsuits, everything that's being judged upon or being determined by courts. I mean, this is just some crazy stuff. So we'll keep you up to date. But as far as it stands, 1 through 11 for Road Motorsports have been granted that preliminary injunction. They will compete in 2025 as charter teams, and also the no sue clause is deemed illegal in the courts. So that could change the future for other teams as well. Silly season stuff. I would love to talk about some silly season stuff. Chandler Smith was without a ride at the end of 2024. Race for Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series. Looked like maybe his road was done. He said that he didn't really have any options going into 2025. Everything kind of washed up, didn't have the funding. It looked like he was maybe done racing in NASCAR, at least for the time being, until maybe some stuff kind of lined up for him. Well, now he's going to be running full time for Front Row Motorsports in the Truck Series in 2025, and I would consider him to probably be one of the championship favorites going into 2025. Clearly, one of the top drivers in the lower series of NASCAR, had a great season in 2024. Did not make the championship four, but made a valiant effort to fight to get there. I mean, if you remember the Martinsville race, a few things went his way there. He probably could have won that race and locked himself into the championship four. And who knows, when he gets to Phoenix, what could happen there? Won several races in the Xfinity Series, won several races in the Truck Series, had a good stint there with Kyle Busch Motorsports. We'll see what he could do in 2025. I would definitely put him on the short list going into 2025 as a championship favorite. And we'll bring that NASCAR preseason 2025 season preview podcast will be in a couple weeks. So we'll definitely break down the Truck Series for you guys there. But I would definitely put Chandler Smith for the Front Row Motorsports as one of those preseason championship favorites, especially with the way they ended 2024 with Lane Riggs with his wins in the playoffs, not a playoff driver, but getting some wins. I think that team's on the up and up, and I think they found a good driver to be able to fill a role there that could potentially put them into the playoffs and be a shortlist championship favorite. Also, some news in the ARCA series in 2025. Isabella Robusto will end up running full-time in 2025 for Venerini Motorsports. And I think this is a big dub. She showed some tremendous speed throughout the year. If you remember the Phoenix race, she was top 5 all day, all race long. There was several other races, like one of the dirt races at Illinois State Fairgrounds. She ran up in the top 5 most that race as well. She had some really good moments. Looked like she was definitely, every time she was in the ARCA car, she was a top 5 contender. Several races there, it looked like maybe if things went her way, she could find a win, but with how strong uh, William Sawalich was and Connor Zilich, it was really tough to get a win last year in the ARCA series. But consider that she was right there with them in the top 5 on a weekly basis. It's gonna be interesting to see what she could do as a full-time ride in 2025. I don't know if I'd put her on a short list favorite like I would with a Chandler Smith, but definitely a top 5 contender next year. I mean, she's gonna have to compete with her teammates. Obviously, Venerini, the strongest team in the ARCA series. And then also you have Rev Racing with 1-2 this year with LeVar Scott and Andres Perez. I mean, they're making different steps forward this year, so maybe opens up some room there in the Rev Racing stable. Maybe Pinnacle is a good year this year. We already know that we're gonna have some driver changes over there as well. So it's gonna be interesting to see what we get out of out of her next year with Venerini. I would definitely put her as a threat to maybe win a race. I wouldn't go as far as to say a bold prediction, which we'll get into here in a little bit. I wouldn't say it should be a bold prediction pick to win a race next year, but definitely a contender to maybe win a race, be top 5 in points, and definitely improve some of these results, especially seeing her on a national level, getting experience at some of these intermediates, uh, running in the super speedways, some of the bigger short tracks like Bristol, which it seems to be a marquee event every year in the ARCA series, which is one of my favorite races to watch. So it'll be fun to see what she could do in 2025. Also, we talked about this, I think last week, me and Tom did. We were talking about the Weldons, the younger brothers, maybe not on stream, but we were talking about off stream. But we're super excited to see Dan Weldon's kids make some moves forward into motorsports. We're super excited. We hope to see him in IndyCar someday. And the first big step of that is Sebastian Weldon is going to be running in Formula 4 for Prima in 2025. And I can't be any more excited. Perfect fit, in my opinion, with Prima. They're already jumping into IndyCar in 2025, so he's going to have a ladder system or a tier system to work his way into IndyCar or even a Formula 1 route as well, because they have a Formula 2 team. They also run a lot of LMP2 stuff in Europe. I think this is a perfect opportunity, a perfect place for him to go and hone his abilities and skills. He's won so many races on the lower levels. It's so much fun to see a Weldon name back into prominence in motorsports, and I'm super optimistic that we're going to see a Weldon back in IndyCar full time here in a few years. And I think this is a great start. I think it's a great opportunity and a perfect team to be aligned with for future motorsports endeavors, wherever he wants to go. If he wants to continue with the IndyCar route, or if he even wants to go through the Formula route and head his way into Formula One, I think that he has got the talent. Now, can he put that talent to display on a big stage like Formula 4 with a team that is very capable of winning lots of races and championships, a proven championship caliber team? And I love the fit. I love the fit, man. I'm thinking right now, like 2028, 2029, maybe 2027, 2028, something like that. We might see a Weldon in IndyCar again. Oh, that would be so awesome. Dan would be proud right now. Proud moment if he was still with us today. So I'm super excited. Sebastian Weldon up to F4 with Prima in 2025. Also, I gotta get the name right on this one because I'm gonna butcher it so bad. Her last name's Florsch, but I could be completely saying that wrong. She's ran some F4 stuff, I believe a little bit of F3 stuff as well. Female race car driver, moving up to HMD in IndyCar, Indy NXT next year in 2025. Being a teammate to everybody's favorite superstar, Miss Haley Deegan. I don't know what the expectations are. I know some people I've talked to are really high on her to be really good next year. I'm skeptical. I haven't really seen her show the success that I would like to see for someone moving into something like the feeder series in IndyCar, like Indy NXT, this quickly with no USF 2000s or USF Pro 2000 experience. I'm hopefully or skeptically optimistic, I guess would be a good way to put it. I don't know how. I'm neutral, I guess. I would like to see her have success, especially with the shoes that they've got to follow in with Jamie Chadwick. She's moving on to LMP2 stuff in Europe next year, not running in the NXT. She's going to be compared to her teammate Haley Deegan all year. It's going to be the Florsch Deegan comparison all year, and would do right. They're both rookies in Indy NXT. One of them has a little bit more probably more way more open wheel experience than the other. The other has some high level racing experience via trucks and Xfinity series on a lot of these bigger oval tracks, so maybe have more oval success. Then when it comes to road, I would probably favor Florsch there. It's gonna be interesting. That's all I'm gonna say. It's gonna be interesting. I'm excited to see a female head-to-head battle on the same team, similar equipment. Who's gonna be better through the end of the year? If I was forced to put a bet or be a betting man here, I would say Florsch would probably be a favorite going into 2025 to have a better points finish, have better results than Deegan. But who knows? Who really knows, honestly? We've seen a lot of the preseason tests with Deegan. She has been well off the pace, like multiple seconds down. And people are saying that's a positive. She's that close in speed. But in this era of racing, I mean, that is a landslide behind. So I don't really know what expectations to put on her. I mean, you can't. She's a rookie. Florsch, you can't really put expectations with the rookie. The lower sample size with her as well. It's going to be interesting. I'm super excited for the IndyCar series. Indy NXT is going to actually be on a spotlight next year, which I think is freaking awesome. I think that's a good reason why with Flourish moving into Indy NXT, I think it becomes a more lucrative thing for her to do than to continue with the Formula ladder. Probably less expensive as well, being able to buy the seat. But also the fact that you're going to be on national television on a more regular basis, be able to get more brand exposure and put yourself out there. I think a lot more people are going to be watching Indy NXT next year, and I believe I've seen it. I've watched it the last few years, and I love Indy NXT. I think it's one of the best series. We've seen some great talent come through there just over the last few years with Nolan Siegel, Christian Rasmussen, Louis Foster, Jacob Abel's been really good. Lots of good talent coming up like James Rowe, Miles Rowe, Gould, Reese Gold. De Alba is really good on ovals. Kyle Collette. I mean, there's some really good talent in NXT, and I'm really excited. That's moved up to IndyCar or continuing this year into Indy NXT, and I'm really excited to see really what this season has in store because I feel like the championship's wide open, and we'll have obviously, like I said with NASCAR and IMSA, we're gonna have a full preseason preview for the 2025 season. Podcast dedicated an hour to the whole Indy NXT season and the IndyCar season all in one. We'll do some race picks, championship picks, kind of go through some of the driver lineups and rosters going into the next year. But I'm really excited for Indy NXT, especially with the news with Flourish moving up to Indy NXT as well in 2025. All right, last bit of news I do want to cover here tonight. We've got mostly pretty much the entire F1 grid is set now. We've got Mercedes being filled up with Antonelli and George Russell. We got Ferrari with Hamilton, Leclerc. Lawson just got signed with Red Bull to be with Verstappen. Piastri and Lando Norris to stay the same. Ocon, Behrman with Haas. Alpine with Gasly coming back and being the second driver there. And then we have Hulkenberg with the F2 champion. And that name just completely escaped me. Oh, Bortoleto. I don't know how that just escaped me. Yeah, Bortoleto with Sauber this year coming up. That's going to be exciting. Sonoda is going to be with Hadjar, who's F2 runner-up this year. They're going to be lined up with RB, Cash App, buy one, get one free team, which hopefully, like, rumors are they're going to change their name as well. So a lot of the teams are all set. We've got the full 21 car or F1 grid pretty much set into 2025. And the biggest thing is what we've been wondering, where was Bottas going to go? Holding on to that pipe dream, have my fingers crossed. I was really hoping to see with Bottas try to make that leap into IndyCar. He's hinted at wanting to do it in the past. He's even hinted at it this year, saying maybe if F1 is kind of closed me out, maybe I go over to IndyCar, and I would have loved to see that because Bottas has been just an amazing character. For one, he's good for any type of motorsport. He brings a lot of the drama, like especially with that calendar he did last year. I mean, just dude's the brash things he does. He's a consistent driver, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Kind of put the Sauber team on his back towards the end of the year, and I think that Zhou really kind of thrived off of that as well. They got their points late in the season. I'm excited. Bottas is going to be a reserve driver for Mercedes next year. We won't see a whole lot of him driving. We'll maybe see him in some test sessions, but I don't think we're going to see him doing too many roles going into 2024 or 2025. But he is going to stick around F1 for another year, and we'll have to see how all that works out being that reserve driver over at Mercedes. All right. I'm going to roll a merch commercial up real quick for you guys because I do got to pull up the 2025 Rolex 24 entry list. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Alrighty. I should have been more prepared. Well, kind of. But I do have it pulled up here. I do want to go through some of these entries for the Rolex 24, talk about some of these teams, because I'm super excited for IMSA to come back and this Rolex 24 to happen this year. Like I said, we're like 31, 32 days away from the Rolex 24 2025, really kind of the main kickoff to the motorsport season. I kind of consider it the Chili Bowl, but that's not really as mainstream as most of the other series we cover. But I do want to go through some of these changes here. We did talk about Protons coming back, obviously with Bruni and Johnny coming back to drive that car. They haven't decided they announced their third driver yet. It's gonna be interesting to see how they do going into this race. We also have in GTP with Penske with Jomine and Matty Campbell with Estrie in the number 6 car. I would definitely look at this team to be one of the favorites going into the Rolex 24. We have no Newgard in this year racing with the Penske team. No Scott McLaughlin or Will Power or any of the other IndyCar guys jumping in this year to run the Rolex. And then the sister team, we got Fleet Nazar, Nick Tandy, and Lawrence Vanthor. So a lot of shakeup. Some of these guys were in the World Endurance Championship last year, moving over to IMSA. Some of the IMSA guys moving over to the World Endurance Championship. So it'll be interesting to see how Penske could do. Can they go back to back in the Rolex 24? They've got the driver lineups for it. We'll see if they can. What I'm really excited for though is the Cadillac teams with Wayne Taylor Racing. We know that Ganassi is out the door there in IMSA for a season at least. They cut their ties with Cadillac and they are not going to be running in IMSA in 2025. But the Cadillac teams now move over to Wayne Taylor Racing. Ricky Taylor, Philippe Albuquerque are going to continue in that 10 car. They're bringing in Brendan Hartley, which I think is a great pickup to be able to compete for this Rolex, as well as Will Stevens. Will Stevens has been a Cadillac driver for the last few years. Being able to move over to Wayne Taylor Racing for the Rolex is going to be exciting. The second team there, obviously Jordan Taylor, Louis Delatraz are going to be running the full season there in the 40 car. With Alex Lynn, who has been just like Will Stevens, he's been a Cadillac driver forever. He's going to be running in this race as well. And then what I'm really excited about in that number 40 car, Kamui Kobayashi is going to be running for Cadillac in the Rolex 24 with the second. I mean, I am so stoked for it. I don't want to we'll break this all down for you guys going into the race week with our predictions and stuff, but I'm really looking at this team to be a team to beat with Louis Delatraz. Super consistent, great driver during the night. He's one of those drivers that's going to put up great times during the late stints if he has to. Jordan Taylor, super consistent, one of the best sports car drivers of this generation. Alex Lynn, definitely a guy that can get it done during the night. And then Kobayashi's a plug and play guy, man. Like, he's one of the best race car drivers on the planet, and he can just wheel anything to victory. So I'm just excited to see what he could do there. Interesting, he's not continuing on with Toyota, so we'll see how it works out with him moving over here to Cadillac. Also, Meyer Shank is back with the 2-car team with the 60 and the 93, returning as the anchor team there for Acura with Wayne Taylor moving over to Cadillac. In the number 60, they got Tom Blomqvist going to move back over to that team with Colin Braun. So basically the same lineup we had in 2023 when they ended. Now they're bringing in Blomqvist and Braun again to that 60 car. So it's kind of a reunion tour, bringing Wayne Taylor back in, Acura's back in with them. And they're going to be running the Rolex 24. I'm super excited for them. But they're also putting Scott Dixon and Felix Rosenquist in the ride as well for the Rolex 24. That team just seems like a dream team to me. And then the sister team with Cadillac moving out, opening there with Acura, they're going to bring in Renger van der Zande to run in the 93 cars, one of their primary drivers this year with Nick Yelly. Nick Yelly showed flashes last year. If you remember, he had that win there at the Battle of the Bricks, the only win that BMW had really in the entire season of 2024 after their horrendous year. He's going to move over and be the co-driver there with Van der Zande for the championship. But then they're bringing in Alex Palou as a driver here for the Rolex. So I'm super excited for that. Obviously, Lamborghini's out of the World Endurance Championship, running full-time in IMSA this year. They're going to have Romain Grosjean and Bortolotti running in that number 63 car for them, as well as bringing in Daniel Kvyat and also Eduardo Montara as well into the 63 Lamborghini this year. I don't really know a lot about Edward Montara, so we'll see how that goes. But Daniel Kvyat gonna make another start in the IMSA series and in the Rolex 24. And then Action Express, obviously, with Pipo Derani moving out, Jack Aiken becomes the primary driver. They bring in Earl Bamber, who's been one of the main Cadillac drivers in the World Endurance Championship the last few years with Alex Lynn, Will Stevens. He'll be running for the Action Express team. Frederick Vesti, super excited for him. F2 champion or runner-up a couple years ago in 2023. He's going to be making a start. And then Drugovich as well will be behind the wheel of that team as well. That pretty much summarizes. We got K-Mag running for BMW in the number 24 machine. That'll be exciting. And then also Marco Whitman in the sister team. Renee Rast, really excited to see how that one goes. So interesting stuff with BMW. Made some changes. Dries Van Thor is going to be racing for them as well. So we'll see how good that BMW can do going into this race. And then obviously JDC Motorsports, they've got their two drivers with Vanderhelm and Aaron, Bryce Aaron being their two main drivers going into the Rolex and the season. So we'll see how that goes as well. Uh, with United in the LMP2, the number 2, we got Ben Hanley. We haven't have any announcements on any teammates for that number 2 car. The other United car with Goldberg and DiResta. Those are the two that have been announced at United there. Also in the 04 CrowdStrike car, this was one of our favorites going into last year. It just didn't work out. We'll see if they can bounce back this year with George Kurtz, Malta Jacobson, Toby Sowery, and Colton Herta over there as well. So a little bit of IndyCar experience in that LMP2 ride. Let's see. Sebastian Bourdais will be running for Tower Motorsports in the 8 machine as a driver in the Rolex 24. He's going to be moving full-time into the World Endurance Championship in 2025. So making a start in the Rolex is pretty cool to see here in the LMP2 class. In the number 11 team, obviously they're getting the band back together. We got Malesi, McElray, Jensen, and Thomas all running in that number 11 team for TDS. That'll be exciting. And then let's see. Garg and Dillman back in the 43 car this year for Interpol. Let's see. Pratt Miller. We got Pratt Miller's driver lineup of Pietro Fittipaldi, James Rowe, Chris Cumming, and Callum Ilott. I think this is going to be a team to watch. I'm on the fence with Pietro Fittipaldi, but I'm a huge fan of Callum Ilott. Bringing him in here. James Rowe, like I mentioned him with Indy NXT, he's going to be a big stable this year in the Indy NXT, having him to have an opportunity here in the Rolex 24 with a pretty good team, startup team for Pratt Miller. It's going to be interesting to see how good they could do going into this race. To note, no Sean Creech Motorsports, no Ligier this year. It's all going to be the all of them are going to be in the Orcas this year. No special manufacturers. And then obviously the AO Racing, the purple dinosaur. With PJ Hyatt. Dane Cameron will be in that ride as well. He ran World Endurance Championship last year. He's going to be making, and as well as some IMSA races with Penske. He's going to be in the LMP2 this year full time. And Christian Rasmussen will be racing for AO Racing this year as well. So I'm super excited to see how that goes. For them, I think that'll be another team to watch. Going into GTD Pro, the Paul Miller team, the BMW, have 0 entries so far for them. So it'll be interesting to see who they pick up. Madison Snow, Peyton Sellers, not on the lineup there for them. A lot of the same here with the Cadillac teams. I do like this one, though. Aston Martin, Heart of Racing team, switched the 007 going into 2025, which I think is freaking badass. 007, Aston Martin. It just seems right? With Ross Gunn, Alex Ribera is going to continue, and they're bringing in DeAngelis and Marco Sorensen as well as some of their drivers. That team's going to be fun to watch. No announcements for Vassar Sullivan yet. Haven't seen anything announced there. The number 9 PFAF Motorsports Lambo bringing in James Hinchcliffe again for another year to run the Rolex 24. We'll see how good he can do. He's probably going to be doing double duty again, doing the broadcast as well as the race himself. So that'll be kind of fun to watch that whole thing and the live interactions that we get out of there. And then for Ford Multimatic, the only really bring back this year is Mike Rockefeller in the 64. That's all. They got 3 drivers in each car, so no big hard-hitting news there. And then also Lauren Heinrich back with AO Racing and Rexy with Klaus Bachler and Alessio Picariello. We'll see how they can do in that number 77. Your defending champion, Lawrence Heinrich in the IMSA GTD Pro class. And to move on. Oh, and then also the last one I did want to talk about. We talked about this in the news prior and a couple weeks ago. But that number 91 Trackhouse machine with the Corvette Z06, that's going to be fun to watch with the driver lineup of Ben Keating, Connor Zilic, Scott McLaughlin, and Shane Van Gisbergen. I mean, if this team isn't the dream team of all teams, the favorite going in, this is my team I'm going to be pulling for in this race, 100% all the way. I think this team is the team to beat. I mean, that you're talking about A-class drivers. I mean, Ben Keating with a bronze star rating, I think that is so underrated. We got silver for Connor Zilic, platinum on McLaughlin and Van Gisbergen. I think this team's going to be so fast. Connor Zilic is going to be lights out in his stint. Shane Van Gisbergen's going to be lights out in his stint. Ben Keating's one of the most reliable drivers around. Scott McLaughlin, amazing in IndyCar, amazing in sports cars, amazing in supercars. I think he's going to do a fantastic job as well. I think that team's going to be so much fun to watch in the Rolex 25, and I'm definitely going to be pulling for him throughout the duration of that race. GTD AM class, we have no announcements for Vasser Sullivan. Like I said in the 12, we don't know who's going to be in there at all yet so far. We'll probably hear that in the next couple days, maybe the next week or so. Find out who's going to be the driver lineup there. Let's see. Alessandro Pierre Guidi with the AF Corsa number 21. That'll be interesting. Lulu Wado, she's going to be with him as well in that number 21. They've got those two have raced together quite a bit over the last couple of years, so we'll be interested to see how good AF Corsa starts this 2024 campaign or 2025 campaign, especially how they ended the 2024 campaign at Petit Le Mans. Let's see here. That may be all. Oh, in the number 34 Ferrari, Conquest Racing, we have Manny Franco and Daniel Serra. They're going to be driving in that car. That will be one of the favorites going into this race, in my opinion, especially the way they ended 2024. I'll be looking to see the defending winner of this race, the team Windward Racing. Russell Ward and Philip Ellis will both be back behind the wheel. They brought in Donche and Owler as well, so a 4-car team there. And then Joey Hand being the only driver announced for the Ford Multimatic number 66 team going into this race. We'll see what he could do. He's the gold driver, so they're going to have to find some silver and maybe a bronze driver as well to put in that ride with him. We'll have to find out over the next couple weeks what comes of that. And then also the Iron Dames are going to be driving in this race as well with Sarah Bovey, Rachel Frey, Michelle Gadding, and Karen Gillard. I'm excited to see what they could do. Maybe a dark horse. I mean, they ran good last year. It looked like they had an opportunity to potentially win this race. Towards the end of it, they found themselves a lap down, rounding about 3rd, 4th, 5th, and then weren't able to make up that lap through strategy. Be interested to see if maybe they can improve on that performance this year with a lot of the heavy hitters, I think, kind of moving up to the GTD Pro class. I think the GTD class might be wide open. I think it's going to be a battle between Vasser Sullivan, whatever they decide to do with the older Lexus. Maybe they can put a good team together to compete, but I think it's really going to be the Ferraris are going to be good with AF Corsa and Conquest. Wayne Taylor's also going to be running with the Lamborghini in this race as well. And then obviously the Windward, the defending winners of this race. Does Ford Voltimatic take a step forward this year? I think GTD is going to be AM class is going to be an absolute crapshoot. Throw a dart at a dartboard, see what sticks, see what feels right, because it's going to be an interesting race out of them. I'm really excited for the LMP2 class. I mean, it's heavy hitter after heavy hitter in LMP2 this year. I think that if you guys watch any LMP2 last year, LMP2 was the most exciting, thrilling class of the season. We had so many different, just dramatic ways, so many different winners, dramatic ways to lose races, dramatic ways to win races, lots of parity. I don't think we'll see anything different in this race, especially throughout the duration of the 24-hour race. I think whoever you see dominate early, I don't think will be dominant late. I think consistency is going to mean more, and I think the team that's more consistent throughout the day, maybe running 3rd, 4th, staying on the lead lap, not making any mistakes, not having any issues or any penalties. I think that's going to be the key to win the race in LMP2. But some of the driver lineups are just absolute A-class gold tier. I'm so excited. I think LMP2 is going to be stealing the show of this race. GTD Pro is always fun to watch as well, but I think LMP2 is going to be the one that steals the race. And then when it comes to GTP, you never know what you're going to get. Never know what you're going to get. Last year, I mean, that race flipped on its head so many times. It'd be interesting to see because Cadillac was so fast last year, and they found a way to lose it at the end with the mistakes that they had with the 01 Cadillac late in that race. And then obviously into the daytime hours, the 31 Action Express kind of fell off a little bit and the Porsches came alive. Do we see Porsche be able to do that once again? They've got great driver lineups out of Penske as well as Proton running the Porsche this year. See if they can improve off of the absolute underdog story that they had last year. We'll see what they can do there. And then obviously Wayne Taylor Racing is your dark horse here with moving over to Cadillac. I'm excited to see what they can do. And then obviously the return of Meyer Shank Racing with some just stellar lineups as well. Bringing in probably 2 of the greatest IndyCar drivers of all time, separate them respectively amongst both cars. So Rolex 24, We're only 31, 32 days away. I'm so excited. I can sit here and talk for another hour, but we're going to save that for next Monday. I would say next Tuesday will not be in town, so we will be doing a Monday podcast next week. Kind of change things up a little bit. We'll do a full IMSA preview for you guys right here on this channel, and I cannot wait to bring that action to you. Alrighty. Next on the docket, we did a little bit of news, Rolex 24 entry list preview. Next, I do want to go over race of the year, and I've narrowed it down to 4. And I'm going to have this poll up for you guys by the end of this podcast for you guys to vote on. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. I wanted to do this last week, kind of ran out of time, so we moved it over to this week. And I think it's more fitting for this week, especially that we're closer to the end of the year. We talked about a few of these races last week, some of our memorable moments. If you guys tuned into that podcast, some of those races are making it onto this list. My first nominee is the 2024 Brazilian Grand Prix. What a fantastic race with the weather changing. Absolutely incredible. One of the best races I've ever seen. Max Verstappen from P17 on the grid all the way to the front. Just an banger, absolute banger of a race. I mean, we saw Lando Norris have his issues. Hulkenberg getting stuck, getting pushed by the track officials, getting disqualified. Both Alpines running up towards the front of the field. That was fun to watch. Norris, like I said, having his issues going off track. Piastri getting into K-Mag at one moment was pretty entertaining. George Russell maybe loses track position through some of the rain. We had Carlos Sainz into the wall at one point. Colapinto ended up making a mistake going to the wall. I mean, just so much parity and drama in that race. So many different passes for the lead, passes for midfield. Championship pendulum, I think, swung that day from Verstappen starting so deep in the grid, Norris starting on the front row. Looked like Norris was going to be able to close that gap on the championship and be able to make it a fight down to the end. And Verstappen with just the absolute amazing drive, one of the best drives I've ever seen in one of the best races I've ever seen, to be able to drive himself from P17 all the way up to the front of the field and then to win that race and not only win it, but pull away from those Alpines at the end was absolutely impressive. And then to watch Lando Norris absolutely implode on himself and pull the most Zach Brown-esque, McLaren-esque type race I've ever seen, which was absolute cinema to see him choke away the championship the way that he did. And from there on, it felt like really the championship was over. That was kind of the defining moment of the season. And then to see Alpine score points, 2 back-to-back, or both on the podium, 4th podium of a career for Ocon. Gasly, I can't remember how many podiums he had up to that point, but another podium for him. And that really snowballed Alpine towards the end of the year because they took the momentum and they kind of rode with it, with Gasly continuing on with the amazing season. And like we said, the groundbreaking achievement of being the only driver in F1 history to end the season with 0 damages or repair costs in the season. So that was fantastic. But just an amazing race. If you guys ever get a chance in the offseason, you're bored, go back and watch the 2024 Brazilian Grand Prix. I'll put that one on the poll for you guys to vote on to see if that one wins. The second one, the Food City 500, the tire wear race for NASCAR, one of the by far the best race of the season in NASCAR. I mean, it wasn't even close. Going into the race with a new tire compound, didn't know what to expect. You had guys making it like 10, 15 laps and just exploding and shredding tires. I think 5 cars finished on the lead lap. Some of the 5, I think, best drivers at conserving tires in the series, with Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Mark Truex Jr., Alex Bowman, and I think might have been Kyle Busch or KFB. Really the only 5 that were able to finish on the lead lap. Just an absolute banger of a race. I mean, I've watched this race back so many times over the last 4 or 5 months since it's happened. All-time classic. An all-time classic. Maybe not just even the race of the year nominee, but this could be like a race of all-time memory. I mean, the amount of... I've never seen a race at a short track that played out like a super speedway where you didn't want to lead the race. They were just absolutely just packed in, going way below the pace of the race because nobody wanted to lead. Nobody wanted to set the pace because they didn't know how long the tires were going to last. We had green flag pit stops, people shredding, blowing tires. That final stage was just one of the greatest comical, entertaining, edge of your seat, didn't know what was going to happen next moments I've ever seen. That race is definitely making the poll this year for you guys. So I can't wait to see if you guys vote for that one. The next one, the 2024 Indy 500. What an absolute race. Kyle Larson making his first start in the Indy 500, having that issue early. losing all that track position but not getting going at the start. So many lead changes. The yellow submarine with Scott McLaughlin being aggressive throughout the race, leading lots of laps, making daring four wide move passes into turn one for the lead. We had Stingray Robb, Santino Ferrucci with the Foyt cars actually mixing up at the front. And then Joseph Newgarden by the end of the race just found his way up to the front. He wasn't the best Penske car that day. That would have been McLaughlin or Will Power, but he ended up getting the track position late and did not relent the lead. And then having to hold off Pato O'Ward when him and Pato O'Ward are just swapping positions back and forth. I mean, absolutely thrilling race. Kyle Larson getting the speeding penalty late when he finally kind of fought himself back into contention there. Colton Herta pulling the most boneheaded move of the year with the best car, I think, in the entire race. Ends up barely tagging the wall. Could have continued in that race. He ends up getting out. Catastrophic brain fart by whoever was in charge there, whether it was a spotter or him or the crew. I don't know what happened there. They should have won that race in all grand scheme of things. They were the best car. They were making incredible moves. The lap one crash, I mean, that the Tom Blomqvist, really kind of the death knell to his IndyCar career right there. That was kind of the end of it with that horrific, not even making it 100 yards into the Indy 500. I mean, just the craziness. We had that, what was it? Ryan Hunter-Reay going through the grass on the inside of Scott Dixon. I mean, just some of the craziest moments I've ever seen in the Indy 500. And that race was a nail biter all the way down to the end. You didn't know who was going to win. Racing up against the nighttime because of the delayed start with the rain. Just an all-time classic. And then Joseph Newgarden obviously going back-to-back, one of the hardest feats in motorsports, going back-to-back in any premier race like the 24-hour Le Mans, Indy 500. These are just races that are hard to go back-to-back in, and he was able to do that. And then the final nominee for me this year, I think it was the best sports car race of the year. I was going to put 24-hour Le Mans on there because that race was so thrilling as well. I could break that race down for you for 30 minutes. I'm going to spare you guys that rant, but if I was to pick my favorite sports car race of the year, I would not pick 24-hour Le Mans because there was one that was just that much better, and that would be the IMSA Detroit Grand Prix. I mean, that race had everything. Mechanical issues early out of the GTD cars, your favorites, with the Corvettes having their issues early, the Ford Multimatic absolutely imploding on itself, and then the absolute destruction from Nick Tandy in the Porsche, as well as Connor DeFelipe in the BMW. I mean, just absolutely making complete fools and clowns of themselves that entire race, running over anybody and everybody. The battle between Rexy, the 77 AO Rexy Porsche, and then the Vassar Sullivan 14 team. Both cars were running 1-2, and they both looked like they're ready for the dumpster, and they still were pulling away from third place. Was just incredible. And then the surge at the end by Acura, being able to battle themselves through the field to take the lead over Porsche late and win that race. Pretty much the main stamp on the season for Acura was that race. That was their best race they ran all year. With all the adversity of that fight too. The fact that the 6 Porsche was able to bounce back to the front of the field after the penalty, after running over people. I think they ended up dumping the Vassar Sullivan one time. I mean, it was just crazy the amount of carnage that was ensued in this race. I mean, Bruni with the Proton car ended up running right over Jack Aiken at one point. I mean, it was just insane. Connor DeFelipe hit everything in Detroit. I mean, there isn't a safe flagpole, street light, hot dog stand. There isn't a safe one left in Detroit after what Connor DeFelipe did in that race. I mean, this race was just absolutely thrilling. I mean, it was so much fun to watch. I've watched it back a couple times over the last couple months as well. And it was one of those races where I sat here with my jaw to the floor, laughing and just glued. I couldn't stop watching. I just wanted more of it. When the race ended, I was so disappointed because I just wanted to see it continue. That would have been a great 24-hour race. I would have been here for it. I don't know how many cars would have finished, but it would have been great. So, those are my 4 nominees for Race of the Year for 2024. Like I said, I'll put that up in a post after this podcast for you guys to vote on. And I'm super curious to see what you guys said. I actually do want to pull up the post from last week real quick and share with you guys the winners of those ones as well, because we had some good posts last week in regards to, excuse me, Bonehead of the Year, Driver of the Year. So currently right now with 81 votes, Max Verstappen, 47% of you said he was Driver of the Year. For Move of the Year, 49% to 43%. This one's a close one. Chris Buescher's 5-wide pass at Kansas, 49% to Alex Albon Needle Threader pass at Canada, 43%. So that one was a close one with 51 votes in. If you guys haven't voted yet, go ahead and place your guys' votes. Excuse me. Sorry about that, guys. Make sure you guys go ahead and cast your votes. And I would like to see if these change at all. Bonehead of the year. This one was interesting. These were the ones that were voted on by you guys throughout the duration of the year. We put the 4 highest vote getters throughout the year into one post. And right now, the pace car driver hitting the sand barrels at Phoenix, the finale, hits the Bonehead of the year. Followed a really close battle for second with Lance Stroll upending Daniel Ricciardo at China, as well as Big Willie's ARCA break of the century, and then Corey LaJoie obviously flipping himself over at Michigan is on there as well. So those are some fun votes. If you guys haven't had a chance to put your poll in or post your pick or opinion yet on those polls, go ahead and do so. And if you don't agree with the picks that we had and you think of something better, put it in the comments. I'd like to see what you guys are thinking on some of those things as well. Be interested to see if maybe you guys have a different opinion than us. And if you don't agree with the picks we picked, I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. We're open to any suggestions that you guys have to share. And like I said, the race of the year, those 4 options, I'll say them again. Those will be in a post after the broadcast. That would be the Brazilian Grand Prix this year, the Food City 500, the tire wear race, the Indy 500 this year, and then the IMSA Detroit Grand Prix. Alrighty. I'm gonna share these with you this week, and then we'll share them again next week as well, or maybe in a future podcast. But I do want to share you with my top 10 bold predictions for 2025. I've been thinking about these for the last couple weeks, and I think I've kind of narrowed it down to my top 10, and I think I'm gonna stick with these going into 2025. Last year, if you remember right, I only got one of them correct. The only one I got correct was Charles Leclerc winning 2 races. Everything else I missed on. Tom got 2 correct as well. He had Will Power winning multiple races. That happened. And then there was another one that he predicted is right as well. So he had me last year. He had 2 out of 10. I hit 1 out of 10. We'll see how good we do this year. Tom, unfortunately, didn't make it here tonight. That's okay. We'll get his bold predictions here in a week or so. And maybe I'll go back over mine with you guys as well to refresh you guys in a future podcast. But for tonight, my top 10, I've narrowed it down. I'm going to stick with these throughout 2025. So wish me luck on these bold predictions. And if you guys have some bold predictions too, make sure to post those in the comments section below. I'd like to see what you guys are thinking going into 2025, because there's a lot of stuff that could happen next year. Motorsports is starting to look a lot different. A lot of changes happening everywhere. It's going to be an interesting season in 2025, that's for sure. But my first one is Porsche wins the 24-hour Le Mans. This is the last one left on Roger Penske's docket right here. This is it. This is that unicorn, the magic white elephant or white dolphin or white whale, or like that he has to accomplish. He's got the North American Triple Crown with the Indy 500, Daytona 500, and the Rolex 24. The only race he hasn't won left on his docket is the greatest race in the world, the 24-hour Le Mans. The last few years they've had pace, but they just weren't able to seal the deal. Right now it looks like Toyota and Ferrari are just the 2 best teams, and it's going to be hard to beat those teams, especially with Ferrari. They're on a little bit of a tear right now. We've seen it in the past with Audi, we've seen it with Toyota, and now it's Ferrari's turn. Can Porsche kind of pulse the sleeper here? They changed up driver lineups in the World Endurance Championship and IMSA. They kind of rotated people around, and I think this is the one Roger Penske wants more than anything. So I think that would be my bold prediction for 2024, and I think it's a very liable thing to happen. It's bold. Like I said, Ferrari's kind of been dominating, but I think this is the year that Porsche finally gets that the 24 hours of Le Mans. My next one, my brother's a big fan of Will Power. I think that the way he ended 2024 shows a lot, and I think that his career is winding down. I think he had some great moments. He put up a great Valiant championship effort. After falling behind so far in the beginning of the season, he really fought all the way down to the end. And right when he took cusp of the championship and it looked like it was his to win in the final couple races, he found a way to ruin it by that Milwaukee race when he ran over everybody and their mom. And then obviously the big colossal failure at Nashville in the season finale where he didn't get his seatbelts tight. Those are the things that show that you're maybe on the end of your legs, the end of your career. And I think in 2025, Will Power goes winless. just like 2023, he goes winless once again. This will be only the second time in his career he'll go winless, but I think that is a complete possibility, and I'm going to stick with that. Will Power winless, even driving for Penske in 2025. The next one, this one's really, really bold, but I love the opportunity that they have bringing in Hulkenberg, and then obviously bringing in Bortoleto. He's your F2 champion. I think that the Sauber team with Audi coming in, they're making big moves in this offseason. Last year, they scored 4 points, and they scored those in the penultimate race of the season. I think that Sauber not only scores 4 points, I say they score a minimum of 15 points this year in the Constructors' Championship battle. And I think a lot of it has to do with bringing in Hulkenberg and with Audi, with the big investment they're putting into this team. I think 2025 is going to look bright for Sauber. And I'm not sleeping on Bortoleto either. I think Bortoleto is going to have at least a points run in 2025. It's going to be hard. It's going to be an uphill climb. Very bold. But I think Sauber can somehow find a way to score a minimum of 15 points in 2025. My next one. You've been around the channel for the last year and a half. You know how I feel about McLaren. I'm not a huge McLaren guy. And a lot of it does with their fan base and Zach Brown and just all of the clownery that continues to flow around this McLaren thing. But I talked about it earlier with the race of the year with the 8,500. Pato O'Ward. He had that race. But Joseph Newgarden just refused to lose. This year, I think it's the year. McLaren has been so fast at the 8,500 qualifying. They basically qualified right behind the Penske's. Those are the only teams that were faster than them. I think this is the year that McLaren wins the 8,500, and they do it with Pato O'Ward. Pato O'Ward wins the 2025 Indianapolis 500 and gets the race that he has been so close to winning the last few years and ends the heartbreak for Pato O'Ward. And gets that first leg of that Triple Crown, by the way, too. And he's got prospects for Formula One as well. So he could be your next Triple Crown winner. And his first leg right here, he's got to get it in IndyCar. And I think 2025 is the year. All right, number 5. I had this last year as a bold prediction. I'm going to run it back. The team is Sheldon Creed. I think he wins the Xfinity Series Championship in 2025. And that's bold. He hasn't even won a damn race in the Xfinity Series. I mean, he's finished second 100,000 times. I mean, this is a bold prediction. But the team he's driving for with Haas, new look Haas team. But a lot of the same players from that team are sticking around. They won the championship in 2023 with Cole Custer. I think Sheldon Creed, I'm not going to put any win total on it. I just think that he's going to find a way to get to Phoenix, and I think he finds a way to win the championship. Sheldon Creed, 2025 Xfinity Series champion. And I'm excited for Xfinity Series this year. You guys don't even know. I'm so excited. It's on CW this year. Some of the lineups are looking great next year. The cars are freaking awesome as long as they don't touch them. The schedule's going to be all right, I believe. I mean, the Xfinity Series next year is going to be an absolute banger of a season. Justin Allgaier trying to go back-to-back. Sheldon Creed trying to get a championship with this team switch, him and Sam Mayer. We got Connor Zilic moving in. I mean, it's going to be a blast to watch Xfinity Series in 2025. Taylor Gray showing a lot of speed. He's moving up to Gibbs. I don't know how many starts that we'll see out of Almirola this year, but he's going to be a threat in any race he enters. I mean, Xfinity is going to be a banger this year, just like it has been. The premier, as Tom always says, the premier stock car racing series in the world. All righty. My 6th one here. I think Alpine wins a race in the World Endurance Championship in 2025. I think this is really bold, really, really bold, but I have a really strong feeling with the way that they ended their year. And they had so many good flashes at the beginning of the year. I remember the opening race at Bahrain. They ran really good. Showed a lot of, or not Bahrain, at Qatar. Sorry. Qatar. They ran really good at the beginning of the year. Qatar had a great run there. It looked like they were going to potentially win that race or at least contend for a podium. Kind of slipped away from them late. Like I said, Toyota, Ferrari, Porsche are probably your 3 best teams. Are really hard to beat. Cadillac this year with Jota, they're going to be on the up and up this year as well. But I think the performance of the rows, maybe I'm putting too much stock in it, or in the 24-hour Le Mans. Last year, the 24-hour Le Mans, that team, they were running 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. For most of that race, they were really competitive. And it's just the mistake that they made with the sister car, then the reliability issues they had late. I just think that there's so much that they learned in their inaugural season with this new hypercar, with the GTP era, the hybrid era of sports car racing. I just think they learned so much last year that they're going to be able to apply it to this year. They're going to hit the ground running. I love their driver lineup. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Um, I think that they find a way to win a race in 2025. And it's going to be a shocker. It's going to be a shock. It's going to be one of those races where we see a lot of carnage, chaos. I don't think they're going to do it on outright pace. It's going to be either through strategy, or we're going to get one of those weird rain races, or some craziness is going to happen in one of these races, like a lap one, turn one crash that we don't expect. Somebody drives it in too deep, locks up, and takes out some of your heavy hitters, and somehow the Alpine escapes it, has a good run. I just think there's a way that Alpine can win a race next year, and they're not bad enough to be in the bottom tier of the hypercar teams, but they're not good enough to be in the top tier. They're like kind of right there in the middle, kind of like how Alpine is in F1 in the last few years. I feel like they're going to take a step forward this year. So I'm going to say Alpine wins a race in 2025 in the World Endurance Championship. My next one, maybe a precursor to my championship pick going into 2025, but I think Oscar Piastri wins at least 5 Grand Prix in 2025. 5 in 25 for Oscar Piastri. Again, not a big McLaren guy, but Oscar Piastri is a real deal. Definitely an A driver. He'd be an A driver at any team he drives for, except for the team he's at right now, because of the clownery of Zach Brown and the whole Lando Norris and the TV watchers. So yeah, I think Oscar Piastri wins at least 5 Grand Prix in 2025. My next one, gotta show some love to the Cup Series at least a little bit here, but mine is Carson Hocevar. I think he gets his first career win in 2025 in the Cup Series. The way he ran all year long, the points probably didn't reflect it, but there was so many races he looked up and he's running 11th, 12th, 9th, 10th. I mean, all year long. I mean, it was crazy how many different diverse tracks he did it at. Road courses, short tracks, intermediates, super speedways, anywhere and everywhere. It just sounded like he was in the top 8 to 12 all year long. It just felt like that. Maybe the results weren't 8 to 12 all the time because of the weird shenanigans in NASCAR with the stage cautions and the manufactured overtime finishes and the weird drama, all the multiple cautions at the end of these races. So it's hard to get the results, but I think he finds a way to win a race in 2025. And I think it could happen anywhere. I don't think there's a single track on the circuit or the schedule that he can't win. So that's my 8th one, Carson Hocevar, or Hosen Carcevar, however you want to say it. I like to say Hosen Carcevar. Shout out to Steven if you're watching. I think he wins the first race of his Cup Series career in 2025. Staying with that trend, in my number 9 pick, I think Santino Ferrucci with AJ Foyt Racing. I think he wins his first career race of 2025. And it could happen at the Indy 500. I know I picked Pato O'Ward to be the Indy 500 winner this year as my bold prediction, but I think Santino Ferrucci could win that race too. Maybe. Yeah, I think he could win it. I don't know. I've gone back and forth with people on this many times. But you know what? Some of the results that he had at the end of the year were absolutely thrilling. And Santino Ferrucci is great for the sport, and he needs to win a race. I mean, he needs to stay around for as long as he's willing to drive. I mean, he is great for IndyCar. The dramatics off the track, on the track, the antics, the radio communication, some of his best moments of him being involved in crazy wrecks where he flies airborne in Toronto. I mean, and then gets out of the car and fights somebody. I mean, he's just the most entertaining guy in the entire IndyCar series. He's the most personality of anybody. He's great for the sport. I would love to see him win a race just for that fact, to keep him around as long as we can keep him. And he shows some speed. He qualified on pole at Portland, and he ran top 6, 7 all day long. I mean, he ran a great race. I think Santino Ferrucci wins a race this year, and I think it's going to be on an oval. I think it might be like a Milwaukee or an Iowa. I think he'll be able to have the pace. I mean, obviously got to beat the Penske's. Got to beat Colton Herta, and then potentially Pato O'Ward is the other good oval driver, and then maybe Alex Blow if he can win an oval this year. I was another one of my picks I was thinking about putting was Alex Blow winning an oval, but I don't know if it was as bold as maybe Santino Ferrucci winning a race. So that's my number 9 pick. And then my final one, the Switch. The Switch is what did it for me. Wayne Taylor Racing. They've been eluded for the title the last 5 years, and they always lose it right there at Petit Le Mans. It happened again this year, and it happens in the most just crazy, dramatic ways that you just can't even script. I think this is the year Wayne Taylor Racing wins the IMSA championship. I think, and I'm not going to narrow it down to a single team because I think both teams are going to be absolutely great. I love Albuquerque. I love Ricky Taylor. I love Jordan Taylor. And I love Louis Delatrez. I think either one of those two teams can win. Now being the premier team at Cadillac, I think this is the year. Wayne Taylor Racing gets the IMSA title this year, and I think it's going to be an absolute thrilling battle all the way down to the end. We're going to clinch it at Petit, probably in the final hour of that race or the final minutes of that race, like always. I'm excited to see it. I think that's a great bold prediction, especially with the luck that they've had over the last few years. So those are my bold predictions for the 2025 motorsports season. If you guys have any of your own bold predictions, please leave those in the comments below. I would like to hear what you guys are thinking. You can even post them in the Discord if you want, which that link is in the description below. Join our Discord, probably one of the greatest communities on the entire internet. I love it. We've got so many cool people in there that post their own news or read the news or stay up to date with everything motorsports wise. We got news from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, Formula One, WEC. They're all sorted in their own sections for you guys to scroll through and read up on all the news, stay up to date with everything happening. We even got smaller racing series from around the world, like European stuff. We got short track racing, dirt track racing. I mean, we got everything you could ever want motorsports wise right there on our Discord. So make sure you guys join that, and the link is in the description below. Also, go follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and all the social media platforms. We're on all of them. Go follow us over there. Stay up to date with everything happening here at the Dega Boys Broadcasting Network. We really appreciate if you guys would do that as well. Also, thanks to everybody that's watching on Kick or has watched on Kick. We're streaming on both platforms now, YouTube and Kick. So if you guys want to continue to stay up to date, go follow us over there on Kick. We're going to have a lot more fun content over this off season. I've got a bunch of ideas on content that I want to create for you guys. Maybe some reaction videos to race highlights, different things. I've got different things. I don't want to spoil too much of it now, but there's a lot of cool things I want to do on this channel moving forward into 2025, especially during this off season where there's no racing going on. Sad times. Shortest off season of any sport is motorsports. We only have about F1 just ended this month, like 3 weeks ago, and we're starting back up in 3 weeks with the Chili Bowl. So I mean, it's the shortest off season, but regardless, it's the off season. And then obviously we're gonna have some great racing before then because we'll have obviously the 12 hours of Bathurst. That's gonna be a fun time. And then obviously the Rogues 24 going in there as well. So lots of good racing coming up over the next few weeks. So stay tuned to the channel. Next week we're gonna have a full IMSA breakdown. So make sure you guys tune in for that. And then we'll probably go back over our bold predictions again with Tom if he's here next week as well. We're doing a Monday podcast next week. So make sure you guys turn on the notifications and stay up to date. We're doing a Monday podcast. We'll not be around on Tuesday, so we're gonna move it up a day and do a Monday on December 30th, the final podcast of the year 2024. If you guys want to help support the channel, though, you guys can go look at the links in the description below, and there's one to our merch store. I played the merch commercial for you guys a couple times here tonight. If you guys want to get some really awesome merchandise or some cool Dega Boys stuff, all of those proceeds go to help us continue to make great content on this channel. Get you some nice Dega Boy shirts. We got some 1-year anniversary shirts from our 1-year anniversary of broadcasting. We got Big Daddy NASCAR, Big Daddy IMSA merch as well on there. So make sure you guys go check that out. And if you enjoy the stuff that's in there, make sure you go pick up a hoodie. It's getting cold outside these winter months. Definitely go pick that up. Get yourself a beanie, whatever it is. All that goes back to help support this channel and help us keep making awesome content for you guys here as well. I think that's everything I have for you guys here tonight on this podcast. A little bit of silly season news, driver of the year. Make sure you guys vote on that poll. It'll be up here shortly after this podcast is done. The Rolex 24 entry list preview as well as bold predictions. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great Christmas and stay safe out there. Hopefully you enjoy everything you guys receive and give, and hopefully none of you are walking away with any coal like certain people in motorsports. If you guys enjoyed the 12 days of motorsports as well, make sure you comment in the comment section below and let us know how you enjoyed that. We had a fun time making that, and hopefully all of those drivers, teams, crew members, whoever we roasted this year, gave presents to, hopefully they appreciate what they received. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for tuning in on this awesome Christmas Eve. Have a great, Merry Christmas, and I will catch y'all in the next one.